When Congress goes on recess, it is usually time for lawmakers to leave Capitol Hill and speak with the people they represent. But GOP leaders across the country, as you see here, met with protests yesterday at congressional town hall meetings. Good morning, I'm Brad Jones with a closer look at this story. Now, some of these town hall protests became so heated yesterday, lawmakers decided to skip those in-person appearances.
This is what democracy looks like.
Lawmakers back home and facing fury. The backlash over President Trump's policies and promises sparking heated debate inside and outside town halls across the U.S.
USA!
He's been a rubber stamp for Donald Trump, and these people are upset.
Much of the frustration centered on one of Trump's central campaign promises to repeal and replace Obamacare.
And you want to take away this coverage and have nothing to replace it with.
That replacement question still thorny even among Republicans. Another hot-button issue, the Trump administration's immigration stance, particularly the ban on foreign nationals from 7 Muslim-majority countries that's currently halted by the courts.
I'm a person from a Muslim country, and I'm a Muslim. Who's going to save me here? Who is going to stand behind me and say to them that...
In a move to avoid potentially explosive moments, some Republican lawmakers have canceled their plans for in-person town halls, instead opting for conference calls. The protest compared to the Tea Party in 2009, when Republicans and conservatives voiced opposition to the ideas of a Democratic Congress and president. But the Trump administration raised questions about the protesters' motives, on Tuesday tweeting, "The so-called angry crowds in home districts of some Republicans are actually, in numerous cases, planned out by liberal activists." Now Republican leaders responding. A Republican congressman from Michigan who's been a longtime critic of the president tweeted this, saying that leaders need to stop acting fragile and instead defend the Constitution. Others, like a new congressional district leader from New York, decided to leave their offices and address protesters face to face. You see here some of the no-show politicians right here in our state. You're seeing a picture of nearly 300 people in Charlotte who wanted to speak with Senator Thom Tillis. Other North Carolina leaders who did not show: Senator Richard Burr, 2nd District Congressman George Holding, as well as David Rouzier in the 7th District. As we mentioned, one of the main focal points of the protests, all about the Affordable Care Act, and now it may be around longer than expected. Both the Trump administration and House Republicans calling for at least 3 months to decide if they want to temporarily fund the plan's cost-sharing subsidies. Now, those payments reduce deductibles and copays for more than half of the people enrolled in the Affordable Care Act. Back in 2014, the House won a lawsuit that it filed saying the subsidies were illegal because Congress did not appropriate the money. But the subsidies still being paid due to an appeal filed by the Obama administration. Even some Republicans objecting to different parts of the party's plan to repeal the Affordable Care Act. Conservatives say they worry that a tax credit meant to assist people with the cost of insurance will be too expensive. The credit would help people maintain or get coverage, and leaders say they also worry that people might abuse the help. Leaders also raising objections about another proposal to tax some employer-sponsored health insurance plans. House committees say they hope to start considering some sort of repeal and replace plan by next month. You got over 500,000 people in North Carolina who are covered under the Affordable Care Act. The majority of those get some sort of subsidy, whether it be small or large, and paying that extra for the subsidy is a real sticking point for a lot of people.
And you mentioned the president says next month he wants to see that reform starting to take place. We'll see. The countdown is on.
It's going to be difficult to institute reform in the middle of a year.
Yeah.
You know, when you go January to January, it's already in force for this year. Reform might be a long time coming, and especially trying to start it by next year.
When it comes down to it, people just want to know, can I have health care? Can I afford
People want to know
to go to
can
the
I have
doctor?
health care and can I afford it?
Right.
The price tag
Right.
for on a household-to-household basis
Yeah.
is the big deal. Yeah.
Find out.
Well, Malaysian investigators